Billiken fans, welcome back. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, thank you so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps the channel if you comment. So anything we talk about, make sure to, sound off on it if you got something to say. And we know everybody has something to say on the internet, Pete.
That's what I hear.
It's season 5. Once again, the Midtown Madness Podcast is brought to you by 2 Men in the Garden. Pete, every day I see another silly thing that's disrupting some industry that is being peddled on YouTube, on podcasts. It's annoying. None of that here. All we're about is 2 Men in a Garden salsa and pickles. They're local. It tastes amazing. They've got all the flavors to suit your individual salsa or pickle preferences, including do-it-yourself pickling kits, which Peter can attest to. Those things are amazing. Check them out. Head over to Schnucks, head over to Deerberg's, wherever get your groceries local here in St. Louis, and grab 2 Men in a Garden salsa with your favorite chip variety. You can go online at 2meninthegarden.com as well if you're particular about your salsa. Maybe the grocery store doesn't have exactly what you're looking for. Head over to their website. Follow them on social media at 2mensalsa on Instagram and Twitter. Pete, I think we need to address the kind of follow-up to the field hockey situation. It will be brief, we promise you. And we will get into basketball fairly quickly, but I think we need to kind of go over what has happened. And it includes field hockey releasing LaSalle field hockey. Sorry. I didn't realize when I was tweeting this stuff out that we all of a sudden would become like a field hockey account. Cause there are now people from like everywhere kind of reaching out to us, asking us, did SLU make a statement? Anything else? Right. It's very interesting. But LaSalle released a statement, Pete. I want to let you go ahead and kind of run down this statement and I think we gotta talk about it because it's super interesting.
Sure, Zach. Yeah, and to be clear, it's from the LaSalle field hockey account, not the athletic department or the school. So it's a statement from the LaSalle field hockey team. Quote, on September 27th, while playing at Temple University's Haworth Field, our LaSalle field hockey team became the victim of senseless gun violence during our A10 game against St. Louis University. In the fourth quarter, gunshots erupted just a block away. When the gunfire rapidly shifted direction, bullets began entering the complex. Everyone on the field was exposed, forced to run for their lives as they heard bullets whizzing overhead, and witnessed shots crossing the field, some striking the turf. Fans supporting the Explorers and Billikens had to take cover as bullets hit the bleachers where they had been seated. The players who made it to the locker room safely had no idea if their families, friends, and missing teammates were injured. This is not normal. We cannot accept this as our reality. We are committed to sharing our story, the real story. The public must understand the severity of this ongoing issue, and we cannot achieve that if experiences like ours continue to be deflected. We raise our voices to advocate for change, and we will not let this incident stop us from playing the game we love. We are grateful that nobody was hurt, but it should not take a tragedy for change to occur. Thank you for your support. Together, we can make a difference. End quote. The LaSalle University field hockey team.
It's really there seems to be two sides to this statement, right? There is the statement on gun violence and guns in our everyday culture, which let's put that aside. That's an issue for a person much smarter than me to talk about on this podcast. What a chucklehead like me is okay to talk about is the idea that this statement it flies in the face and in spite of LaSalle athletics and LaSalle University. I don't know if everyone else read it that way.
Yeah, and it seems like they felt like whatever the school has been saying so far is inadequate.
Or not saying.
Correct, right. So it's just, we want to make sure that we're addressing this, and we want people to know how we feel, and that they had more to say on the issue. I don't know. I really don't know technically what the university and the athletic department can say.
Yeah.
What they're afraid to say because Temple is fellow institution in the same city, Philadelphia, and you're going to want to get along, right? Like SLU, if something happened, if Wash U was using a SLU facility for something and there was an incident, I don't know that I would want you Wash U popping off about it, right? Like
Right.
the university, the head of the university or anything like that. So there's definitely there's probably a decorum thing. There's probably a fact that there's an ongoing investigation. Not that I think anything's ever going to come of that.
Which is the scariest part, I think, of this
which is the scariest part. Unless there is surveillance that just happened to catch a license plate or a face or something. But again, it just seems like a long shot that anything's ever going to come of that. And we're just going to be left to speculate what actually happened. So I don't know what they can say, what they want to say, what they don't want to say. So I do think it is important for the field hockey program to be able to express themselves in this way. And I would like to think that behind the scenes, the athletic department is not like mad about this, or the university's like, I wish you wouldn't say that. I would think that they're okay with this, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, I think it's kind of telling that LaSalle Athletics hasn't retweeted this. I think it's kind of weird. I mean, not weird, but given the statement, I think it's understood that the LaSalle field hockey team and LaSalle University are not on the same page. But I think that with this statement, one of the things that is not necessarily being talked about and was actually noted by, I think it was either Lord Elron or Oki Billiken on Billikens.com, was that LaSalle's got to play the rest of their field hockey schedule on that field.
Yeah, and I had, as you were talking, I had brought up their schedule to see what was next, and they've played 2 road games since the incident, since the game against SLU.
And they didn't have a game on that Sunday, so they didn't miss a game.
They do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more games scheduled for that location, right? Like they're using the field all season long. And including 4 in a row, 4 games between October 18th and October 27th, all at the same spot. The next one is scheduled for October 11th, which is a Friday, against UMass, which, by the way, is probably the top team in conference. It's pretty crazy, Zach, right? Like I know that Temple has continued, as we said last week. Temple right away, 2 days later.
Monmouth. The day after.
Was it 2? Okay, I thought it was that Sunday.
Maybe it was 2 days.
Yeah. So Temple's using it. I can't imagine LaSalle being like, we want to go back there again and play. Like, again, like just use Wash U and SLU. If Wash U, for whatever reason, their field's being renovated, they're using SLU's field for the season, something like that happens right off of Shoto. And do you think Wash U is going to enthusiastically come back and play the rest of their games there? Like, I would think they're going to be out at MICDS or wherever else, Sportport, wherever else they can get a field, and like you said last week, there's no shortage of field hockey infrastructure in and around the Philadelphia area. So it's surprising to me that they're still, scheduled to play there. I just wouldn't want to.
One question we got in a DM was, has SLU made a statement on this? And I said yes really quickly to that question. And then I thought about it. And they kind of haven't. They have, but they haven't. Because I don't know if it really was an acknowledgement. It was an acknowledgement of something happening, but I don't really know if it was an acknowledgement of something happening to the field hockey team directly. And that's what happened.
Yeah. So it almost feels like the question is, have they put out a statement like this,
No.
No, our athletic director acknowledged the situation. The broader university hasn't said anything. And then the field hockey team themselves have not put out a statement like this either, which, it again it's an uncomfortable position to be in as a road team. Yeah. This is a conference partner. You were both playing on another conference's field facility. Everyone's in an awkward position here, right? I don't know. And I know there's a time and place for decorum, and there's a time and place for brutal honesty, and I don't know what the line is here. But I really would be curious what those behind the scenes conversations are like higher up the chain at these different universities.
Yeah, it's never, hey, let's get out ahead of it and say exactly what we feel. It's never that.
Yeah, you don't want to make an emotional response without having thought it through, right?
Well, I mean, it's never just being open and honest, right?
Mm,
It's never
okay.
that. And that's kind of corporate America, right? It's those, you know, statements that don't really state anything.
Hmm.
Those apologies that aren't really apologies. They're that's just kind of everything. And I mean, SLU is following that path. It's everybody does this, and not that it's not right. It's not wrong. It's just maybe less than what we'd hoped for.
Yeah, yeah. They're just, I think a lot of times you see it, people or corporations or whoever organizations just wait it out, right? Like
Yeah,
like eventually this too shall pass. It will blow over. People
unless you're
will move
Diddy.
on. Yeah, yeah, sure. So yeah, I think the statement from LaSalle Field Hockey is a little bit different than that,
Yeah.
and it does feel so like it to me. It kind of feels like something the coaches and players talked about. Like, what do we want to say? How do we want to say it? I don't know exactly who wrote it, but it probably got a good look over by everybody, and you
I
know,
want that's what I'm interested in that because I mean I don't know like how many of these teams have a dedicated SID that travels with them. I
mm,
mean, I know it's just right across the street, right? Or like I don't even know if it travels matter, but like, well, I guess it does because they're on the road, right? They're on the road right now.
yeah,
So I mean, they put this out in the middle? Like I mean, they could have put this out themselves. I would imagine that Zoe Adkins has access to the SLU Twitter account.
mhm.
I mean, I don't. That's the
I
interesting thing because why? Like, I don't know if an SID would put this out.
No, well, I mean,
So
it's coming just straight from the LaSalle Field
yeah,
Hockey account,
but
right?
who
So
runs that account is an SID.
would it be? Is it? Does the SID run all of the
I
different
mean, it
teams?
depends, but I think with LaSalle, you're talking about a small school with a tiny budget. I think yes, absolutely, it'd be an
Hmm.
SID.
So, so who do you think actually did the drafting of that statement? Is that also an
I would say I
SID?
would probably team. I don't see
Yeah.
this being. I don't like this. Feels like just kind of going out on their own.
Hmm.
Because it does feel like like a shot at the school. Pardon the pun. It feels like a jab at the athletic department. Hey, say something, do
Hmm.
something, get us off this field. We should not be playing here anymore.
Yeah. So that's an interesting aspect of it is they don't really have a specific request here. There's no
Yeah,
demand. There's no finger pointing or anything like that. It's more that they just kind of want to say like this happened, and it seems like people are ignoring that. And
yeah,
so to me, more than anything else, it seems like they just want people to be aware. Like they just want people to know what they went through. It would have been certainly interesting had they said, we're not going back there to play our last, 5 home games.
yeah. Are you
But we don't
surprised
do it.
that Billiken Field Hockey hasn't said anything? I don't know. I don't. It's that's such a tough position to be in.
Yeah, it really is. And when we had Nora on last week and she was talking about it, she made it sound like they were still pretty rattled from the whole thing, and that they also wanted people to know what they had been through and what the story was and things like that. So I'm not surprised necessarily, but I guess I wouldn't be surprised either way. Like if they eventually did put out something along these lines, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either. Either way, I think it's um, understandable. I don't know what those conversations are like in SLU's athletic department at all,
Yeah.
and if they did say something like this, um, I don't think it at this point, given that LaSalle has already their field hockey team has already put out a statement, I don't think you're going to upset anyone at LaSalle or
Yeah. No.
Temple or anything like that.
Yeah. Just an absolute insane kind of string of events here. And I mean, look, next up for field hockey, we're going to talk about them later in the show, but we wanted to circle back and do this because Friday the 11th, they play Davidson at 4 p.m. This is going to be the senior day. They have a bunch of games left, but this is when they're going to do senior day. Look, if you can if you can come out to that game, I will be there. I come say hi, come watch Billiken field hockey, and support this team as they get back on the field here in St. Louis, and get behind them because I mean they've been through it. So they could really. Let's get some people. You know, if you're on the message board, come out. If you're on Twitter, you follow us on Twitter, come out. If you just listen to our show, come out. Like if you like the Billikens, come out.
Yeah. Support the community. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Pete, let's go ahead and switch to men's basketball. And some pretty big news. We got a little teaser a week or so ago with a picture of Robbie with Coach, but we got the full jersey reveal because picture day happened, and every player rushed to Instagram to post their pictures.
Yeah, they're pretty great, Zach. I mean, this is your bread and butter.
Yes,
so we're talking about gear. We're talking about new uniforms. So I think you've got to be the one to really run us through these, because I know this is right up your alley.
Pete, you know that's right. I adore like sports gear, anything sports. I don't care. Like if you send me anything Billiken sports gear to wear, I will wear it 1000%. I mean, I've been doing is wearing basketball jerseys all summer. I have turned into Adam Sandler somehow without being funny. But let's talk about these jerseys. We're gonna use Larry Hughes 2, his Instagram to go through these jerseys. But Pete, I want to talk about, this is going to be odd because now I need my notes here. So I need my notes. But we've got the white jerseys here to start. And I mean, this is super clean, Pete. Just St. Louis on the chest, the Billiken logo on the right thigh, some very classic trim.
I think the only way this would be cleaner is if the trim itself, instead of being 2 blue stripes with white in the middle, was just blue. Like that's the only possibility. Like This is, as you said, about as clean as it gets. I think it's about as clean as we've ever had, certainly in like the modern era, right? Like you'd have to go back pretty far for us to have something with.
The only way it would be cleaner is if it were this Billiken women's jersey up here. Because that does have the single stripe on the sleeve.
True. So I mean, this is it's a really classic look. I like it a lot. You know, I really think home whites is, I like it in every sport. I hate that hockey switched. I like it in baseball.
Am I still sharing this? The right.
You are sharing it. Yeah.
Okay. It's on above my notes on the on my computer, and then on my other screen it doesn't say anything. So I'm glad. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is just pure and simple. I mean, this is like white and blue version of Indiana basketball.
Indiana's a good comp for this. It's very traditional.
Let's move on. We got the Blues, and my God, I think these are absolutely that shade of blue is gorgeous.
It's perfect. I mean, that's Billiken blue to a T. And what's interesting, Zach, is we've got St. Louis on the home whites, right? But Billiken's is above the number on the road blues. And I'm wondering what you think there. Do you like that approach?
I think if you're trying to brand yourself as St. Louis University, St. Louis's basketball team for college basketball, I think it makes perfect sense branding wise to put St. Louis on the homes. When you're at home, you're in front of your local people, they see St. Louis on the jerseys. That's what you're trying to evoke. So absolutely, I like it. I think it makes perfect sense. But I do love the adding of the Billikens on this one.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. I also like, I mean, this is really just the perfect inverse of the other one.
Yes.
The blue piping, the blue lettering, numbering is all flipped. Blue for white, it looks great. I mean, they look great. And you're right, this shade of blue really pops. I think both of these are going to look fantastic on TV too.
I think we need to shout out, first of all, the photographers,
Yeah.
because this actually is like it's eye candy. The colors
Yeah.
popping is just eye candy. I love the undershirt he's rocking though. Just to go away from the jerseys for a minute, I like that, like the Nike swoosh right there on the sleeve. Like I think that's a really, like I think it'd be cool if he put on like a number 2 on his sleeve. That'd be sick. You should do that, Larry, if you're listening.
There were, I don't know what they are now, but there historically were rules about like undershirts had to be the same color as the jersey itself, and they could not have any visible print or logos or anything like that. So that may have been loosened a little bit, but I don't know.
The no fun league strikes again.
Hey, I like rules.
So the gray jerseys are back, Pete.
They're back, but they're much different.
Zach. They're different. But in this photo, we can see that also what's back. We can see something that's back and something that's gone. What is gone from these jerseys is, I think, something that a lot of people didn't like. So it's clear that whoever helped design these jerseys, Livy Sant, as far as I'm told anyway, clearly listen to the fans. And what's gone is the slew on the lower back of the jersey. But what has remained is the arch, and I think it is a huge upgrade. I think the arch looks, I think it always has had a place there. I think it just looks, it's the perfect spot for it, I think.
Yeah, I do too. And I will also say about these grays, a few notes. The shade of gray is different. It's lighter.
Yes.
It's almost
it's not a sandy gray. It's
like a silver, but like a sterling silver, right?
Yeah.
Like not a super shiny one.
And the blue pops off of it.
The blue pops, and part of the reason for that is in between, like in the middle of the blue border on the number and in between the blue piping on the trim is white instead of gray. And so I think that makes both of those just pop a little bit more.
These are straight up lighter than any other than the last few years. This is a lighter shade. Now I don't know. Were they using a darker shade? You're talking about the
blue?
Yeah. This is a different shade.
Yeah, I would love to know like what because a lot of schools, it's a big deal. Like what's their Pantone, right?
All right, I got a blue one sitting over here. Hold on, I'm gonna grab it. You keep talking.
So a lot of schools like this is a big deal, and if you follow things like UniWatch or college sports logos or some of those, when a program, an athletic program changes their color, it's a big deal, and they'll always put things like, here's the Pantone that they're using versus what they were using, and that's as you're holding that up, Zach. So that's a road blue from the Ford era, very recent years, same letter, font, official university athletics font and everything like that.
That's feels like a different color blue.
It's a darker blue.
I like this so much better.
The lighter one.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really clean look. Back to the grays. I think I like this shade too better. They've gotten rid of some of the other aspects of the gray uniforms that we didn't like in the past.
Oh, the striping, the fuck ugly striping
down the sides
is
right?
Absolutely,
it's gone.
Oh God, that those grays may have been the worst thing Travis Ford did as Billiken head coach.
I didn't hate them as much as everyone else.
But I didn't hate them, but that gray stripe, that striping was awful.
Yeah, right. And I'm also not a big fan of using a logo instead of a word mark above the number on the front of your jersey. But that I do want to draw people's attention to one other aspect of these jerseys is I've seen some complaints, and mostly what we're seeing here is jerseys untucked in all of these photos.
Yeah.
The number's too high or the number's too small. I'm seeing a lot of that. Now, Xavier is the other program that I see the most, being in Cincinnati and my wife going to their games and being a fan and everything. Their numbers got really high and really compressed. when they rebranded, and it's been probably over a decade. So I've been kind of used to that for a while now, and I think some of that is going to be mitigated by the fact that these guys will tuck these in, and so the jersey won't, or the number won't look like it's so up high, on either the front or the back. But I don't think it's as big a deal as people are making that out to be. I don't know if you disagree on that part.
No, I mean, I do think there's a lot of space, but again, we're talking about tall humans and untucked shirts. So
Right.
I get it. One thing we haven't talked about though is on these, we did talk about the logo being replaced on the front with St. Louis. I would have preferred they went with Billikens on this one, just me. It's not enough for me. Yeah, it's not enough for me to hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think why I think that is the shorts. It says SLU on the bottom, which I actually really like, even though I think when they were going for the rebrand, I think the branding company was trying to push them away from using SLU because nobody really knows what that means outside St. Louis. So I like it. I like the way it looks, but because it's already SLU or St. Louis, like I would have preferred Billikens up on the jersey. Just to change So
I actually agree with that. I would rather have the alternate say Billikens.
Yes.
Than the road jersey. Like if you told me one of the three is going to say Billikens, I would make it the alternate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think for a lot of the same reason you said, if you're going to go with SLU, which is, alternate, because I think the logo is on both the white and blue shorts on the right leg.
Yeah.
I think Billikens would make more sense above the number. So I do agree with that. And even though I think it's cool to put Billikens on the road jersey, I think it would make logically more sense to have it on the alternate.
Yeah, but again, none of this is really anything that is enough to warrant any sort of criticism. It's just kind of a preference, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, this whole rollout, this whole look is an A from me. It's like if any quibbles or questions I have is just this is why it's not 100%, but it's still above a 90.
I think the only weird thing, the arch kind of running into that shorts piping right there.
Yeah,
I don't love it, but again, I don't care. I think what you're going to see when they're tucked in is on the striping around I'm assuming there's going to be some striping around the waistband.
Yeah, and that actually was going to be my next point, is kind of like moving to the shorts. I don't quite know what the waistband's going to look like. I don't know if there's I doubt if there's a big, horizontal stripe look to it. Yeah. It's probably all going to flow together. But I do wonder, is there going to be a little Billiken patch, on the front?
Oh, yeah.
Or, we've seen shorts in more recent eras where there might be a SLU or something right below the waistband on the back, things like that. So I am curious, but the fact that no one has shown that in any picture makes me think there's probably not much going on there, and that this will just all flow together like one clean look.
God, this color blue is amazing. I feel like I'm an idiot going on and on about a color, but it just really looks great. And I think they nailed the grays it's not that I don't even know if the ones last year were gray. I can see that they might have been tan. Right. And they didn't really have this one. The gray this year, again, like you said, it's like that sterling silver. It does have a little bit of shine to it.
Yeah. Yeah, just a little bit. So the one thing we haven't gone over.
Oh yeah, I was already thinking about it.
I'm thinking about it because I'm looking at what you're wearing right now.
Yes, why do you think I put it on?
R.I.P. The black jerseys do not appear to be part of this year's look, and I'm wondering what you think of that, Zach.
I think it's kind of the way sports fashion is going. I think you're seeing a lot of teams really hone in on their colors. And the more traditional, we're going into an era of nostalgia for the 80s and the 70s. As far as sports go, we're coming back to a more timeless look everywhere, I think. As much as we're seeing just insane fashion also. I think more people are adopting the timeless kind of fashions.
which I fully endorse, by the way.
Yes.
I think like there's a time in like the late 90s into the aughts and the teens where like all college and pros, well, like just sports logos in general were all kind of taking on a lot of the same characteristics.
Like
Like
stadiums.
the fierce versions of
Yeah.
their logos and things like that, like the way the lines were drawn, and we were coming up with alternates on alternates on alternates, like so many. And I know the NBA and all these different leagues want to sell as many jerseys as possible. The
But
NFL,
they're all going back to throwback. They're all going
but
back to the old clean looks.
they're like, it's why do fans love these teams in the first place? You know,
Yeah.
and it takes them back to when they were like kids, and they're just like, oh, that color, you know, like the
Yeah.
color, the stadium, the fans all wearing this, and that the logo never got better than that. The Milwaukee Brewers are using their logo from, you know, the 70s and 80s because it was far better than anything they rolled out in the 90s and like not even close. They're just like, you can't beat that. Like MB baseball glove, you know, blue and yellow. It just looks great. There's sometimes it's like, you know what? No matter how many times you rebrand and rebrand and rebrand, you got to admit you nailed it back in whatever year that was, and that's what everybody loves. So just do that. And I like that trend in sports that they're finally like going. It's almost like they're giving into like, this is what the fans like. This is what we're gonna do. And the fact that SLU is really embracing blue and white, I really like. You know, the one alternate is really subtle, but losing the black, I never felt like that was really a SLU look. That just never felt like us.
We used to play decent in it, like Goodwin and French teams
Yeah.
always play good. But again, we're getting away from that. Like people are we're getting away from that very, like this is so busy. And I'm not talking about the patches, but like the back has the arch and the SLU and a gray and blue line, big fat line. And it's just I like wearing it. I think it
Mhm.
looks good, but I don't think it jives with where the sensibilities are going now. Like
Mhm.
right now, this is nostalgic almost a little bit for me.
Already.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Um,
For
but
me, I think of things like so the red, like went back in like the 90s when I was kind of really becoming a SLU fan. They always had like just a little bit of red trim in their like on the
yeah,
numbers or on the sides of their jerseys and the piping, stuff like that. And even at the time, it was just kind of like, it was weird that it was there, right? But it was the 90s, and there were like colors on colors on colors
mhm.
on everything on jerseys, and they were coming up with crazy looks. So it felt like they were like, it was a maximalist era of sports design, and we're definitely way more minimalist now, and I think that's probably for the better. But so I understand like people look at like the Larry Hughes era and like the little bit of red in the jerseys. There might be some nostalgia for that, but at the same time, I just think like red, black, and some of these colors, like they've never really been
No,
true SLU to me.
I think the old heads will be very happy with these.
Oh
At
yeah.
least I expect. By the way, I love that Larry Hughes just just changed his shoes when he
Yes.
changed outfits.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Like, and in the gray, he's not wearing an undershirt, but he's wearing tights. White,
Yeah,
he doesn't have either. Yeah, different shoes for all of them. So yeah, these guys came ready for their full photo shoots here.
I think that is good for the
Yeah,
jerseys. I think that's all we can really talk about.
yeah.
Well, I guess we could talk about how there is word that they may be looking to bring in and replace the grays next year. Actually, we believe the grays are going to be gone next year, and they
Do you
may be
th-
replaced.
do you think they're going to replace the grays altogether, or will we have four base colors like we did?
I think you could keep those
Before?
grays in the rotation, but I think you'd add another jersey. And it
What do
would, I want to see, give me, Josh, if you're listening, please, dear God, give us Billikens on the front with little Billiken heads dotting the I's.
which has
Please.
which has been done in SLU
Yes.
uniforms before. Yes, it has been done. The only thing, so do you want to speculate on what any other alternate colors might be?
Baby blue, obviously.
The
I think
the
the baby blue and navy.
Yeah, so those are the two colors to me. Like, yes, we have our SLU, whatever the Pantone is, like the flag behind me, or I don't know what the official color is, but call it royal blue, right?
Yeah.
it's a royal blue is kind of has been our color. But if you look at our jersey history, SLU and this is in the distant past, mostly before I was even born, a lot of light blue and dark blue in there. And I don't know if it's a true navy or a true baby blue, but there have been lighter shades of blue and darker shades of blue. So to see them play with that again, I wouldn't mind at all.
So
I think that would be interesting.
So the colors of St. Louis University are SLU blue. It's actually called SLU blue, and it is Pantone PMS 293C.
Okay.
It is, and then that is, I think that's actually what I used for our graphic. I think I actually did. College Church Gray is
love that. Yeah.
It is the gray, and it's PMS Cool Gray 3C, and then Iris White. And I don't have any extra information on Iris White.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then I would say, like, if you look at our jerseys throughout different eras in the early 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s on back, you'll see occasional darker blues, lighter blues. So as far as darker blue, I wouldn't want to see that be a jersey base. I would say, like, if we played with that in, like, fonts and things like that. But I think the lighter blues, and I swear I've seen, it's not like a true baby blue. Like, think about the Indiana State jerseys last year that were a really pastel-ish baby blue. It had a little more of a gray base to it, like a Carolina blue.
Yeah.
I think that's the one that is a little more.
Oh, that would surely piss off Indiana State.
I don't think. Yeah. If we had a light blue jersey.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hey, there's precedent for it in our own.
Yes. Well, here,
history.
I'll say this. You could do a Billiken, like a baby blue Billiken jersey. You don't even have to throw it back. Just do a baby blue and do the Billiken's font as it is now. Like, do a Billiken script and then dot the I's with just regular Billikens as it is now.
Yeah.
I think you could absolutely do that and get away with it.
If what you just kind of painted right there in
basically
my head
a faux back, but like a modernized faux back.
You could make that look very, very cool.
Yeah.
Yes, and nobody else in our conference, as far as I know. I mean, I guess Rhode Island kind of does that sometimes, but it would be fairly unique in our conference as well. Now I'm thinking Dayton has done that too.
That faux back.
They just have done that.
God, I hate Dayton.
Yep.
Let's talk about some recruiting. This is your bread and butter. We did my bread and butter pickles. Now you've got your bread and butter pickles.
That's right, Zach. We do have 3 new 2026 offers out this week, and they also went out to visit another guy who doesn't have an offer yet. So the new offers are Jacob Weber. He's a 6'6" wing from Kearney High School in Nebraska. It's way out there in central southern Nebraska. And he plays for ETG Midwest AAU, which is an Adidas 3 Stripes program, actually plays up a level. He's a shooter. I mean, he's not just any run-of-the-mill good high school shooter, but he kind of does that Jimerson thing where he catches and releases high. So he's got a quick trigger, makes him hard to guard. He played up a level, like I said, in AAU this year and still managed to shoot about 40% on almost 10 3-point attempts per game. And if you know anything about AAU basketball, that means he played a lot, because 10 3-point attempts is a lot in an AAU game. So other offers right now: Creighton, Iowa, Nebraska just offered in the past, I want to say 24, 48 hours. Washington, Cal, Drake, UIC, Ohio, Canisius, and Omaha. So his recruitment has really ramped up a notch in the couple months since we first reached out to him, which we did on June 15th when the period opened for 2026 recruits. He's really kind of blown up over the late summer. So he's one to keep an eye on. The next 2, Zach, are both from the past 24, 48 hours for SLU. I want to say just in the past day, this weekend. Desmond Bellett Jr. is a 6'3" guard from Cambridge Arts, Technology, and Science Academy, CATS for short, in the Boston area. He plays AAU for Expressions Elite, which is the Nike EYBL program out of the Boston area. He's an absolute dog defensively. He just creates a ton of steals and fast breaks with his instincts. He's got long arms, He's listed at 6'3", but I swear he looks bigger just because he's really long. He's slippery getting to the rim. He's got nice handles. He can heat up from outside. He does have kind of an unorthodox shooting form, which I don't know how I feel about that, but he does so many other things that, if you can do that consistently, I'm fine with it. Other offers right now: George Mason, Rhode Island, UMass, Siena, Quinnipiac, and Bryant. So there's definitely some A10 competition there.
And a MAC school, apparently.
And a soon-to-be MAC school. The last 2026 offer is a high school and AAU teammate of Bellet for both Cats and Expressions Elite. So somebody was up in Boston doing work this weekend. He's a versatile two-way wing. He's got nice positional size and strength. He's about 6'6", very smooth, consistent shooting stroke, quick release. He's a smart player. He's really smart off the ball, plays at his own pace. He kind of lets the game come to him. Really efficient player, scorer. I like his game a lot. Just very well-rounded, Other offers right now, he's got Rhode Island, George Washington, Xavier, Providence, Boston, Old Dominion, and Albany. So that's the list for Jackson Terry. And, like Desmond Bellet, we see some A10 schools in there. If we're going to go up to Boston and recruit, we're going to run into some A10 foes on the recruiting trail. But I like all of these offers, Zach. Jacob Weber, I think, is probably the one that looks like the most immediate fit, in terms of what we do. But I think both of the other guys have a lot of potential as well.
Pete, we are just going to see I don't want to call it a plague because we have one that's going to be on the team, but an influx of Jacksons.
Filling these out, I don't know what to say because we've got Jax Kerr.
Maybe this will finally get Guy Phillips to retire.
We just offered Jackson Terry, and now there's Jackson Clark, Jaxon. Jackson Terry is Jaxson, but Jackson Clark.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
From Keokuk High School in Iowa.
I call their FedEx terminal all the time.
Okay.
For work. I have to call their yeah. That's funny. I'm seeing that name.
And he plays AAU for Mid Pro Academy. He was really flying under the radar, and I would argue that he still is until a strong AAU season just in the past few months. He doesn't have any offers yet, but he has visited Iowa and Illinois, among others. So he's definitely, it's coming, right? He's 6'10", he's 255. He can shoot the three, pass out of the high post, put it on the floor. Who does that sound like, Zach? I mean, keep an eye out for this name because you can tell that the staff is looking for those next generation Robbie Avilas, and this guy certainly has that kind of potential. So
that's a big boy too. 255 is a big boy.
He really is, and he wears it well. He doesn't look like out of shape or anything like that. Obviously, college strength and conditioning would go a long way. But we're talking, look at some of the places we're recruiting now. Like the Northern Midwest, these Iowa, Nebraska, big farm boys, man.
This kid reminds me of that dude from Northern Iowa that killed us. He looks like whatever. And then he went to where did he go out? He went to like SEC after that or something. He went to Mizzou. Yeah, he played at Mizzou.
On his name. Yeah. Okay, I know who you're talking about.
I'll come up with it while you actually give information.
No, but that's it for recruiting this week, Zach. 3 new offers, 1 visit. We didn't have any players committing to us or anywhere else this week. We're still kind of wondering what's going on with Isaiah Seeley. We'll, update him once we know, but that's really it for recruiting this week.
Noah Carter. He reminds me of Noah Carter.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. They sucked. Anyway, there's a nice article on the PD this week from Stu Durando, of course. Who else?
Yeah.
But it's about Kalu Anya, the Billiken's new forward who transferred in from Brown. And I think Billiken fans who went to that open practice in September, right? Or was it in July?
It was
the one in July. So I think it was the one in July.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking of Billiken basketball night last week.
Or maybe it was late July.
Yeah, you're right.
I think people who went to that one, Kalu Anya was a revelation in that scrimmage. He was a beast.
Yeah, he really was. And he's an interesting guy. He's got really the kind of so he was a double major in economics and applied mathematics at Brown, right? Which like who among us was not a double major at an Ivy League school? He came to SLU, he dropped the math side of things, but according to this article, he does kind of bring that mentality to the floor. He's filling in at Avila's role, the trigger, while Robbie's out with an ankle injury. And he apparently just the way that he processes things is he's always one step ahead. He's really looking at angles very specifically. And I don't know, Stu tried to tie his mathematical mind into the game a little bit, which is his approach to the game. But one of the things, Zach, that really impressed me, he said one of his goals is to lead the A10 in rebounding, which I was impressed with because he averaged like 9.5 and about 7 rebounds in an Ivy League last year. So it was interesting to me that he's like going to jump to a higher conference and add 3.5 rebounds a game to his average. I like the ambition,
I'm surprised that he was playing the trigger role. I had that pegged for like Max Picard or Brokoff.
I guess what they're going to do is just kind of keep it in the first unit, right? Like we're still going to have that role, but it's got to come from somebody in the first unit. And AJ Casey's the other guy who's out right now, and he seems like another one who, as a rotation player, would probably take that up, at 6'9" or so, whatever he is. So I guess I'm not entirely surprised, but I don't think that's intended to be his role moving forward. But some more information from Stu. His family moved to the U.S. from Nigeria in 2000. So he's the youngest of 6. The first 4 siblings were born in Nigeria. He and his next oldest sibling, being the youngest, were born in Massachusetts. One of his sisters is a doctor. The other owns a business in Ghana. He has a brother-in-law in law school. He has one in medicine and then one in real estate. So all really successful. I mean, I have to wonder, being the son of immigrant parents, being 2 years into your Ivy League education, and then like, I'm gonna bounce for this school in the Midwest that you guys probably haven't heard of. I have to wonder what that conversation was like with his parents. And I'm gonna pursue this basketball thing and not worry about that Ivy League degree. That I gotta think that they struggled with that a little bit.
I just thought it was funny that you had to say brother in law school.
Yes.
That is a very tough sentence.
And where the word break was, it's
brother-in-law. Yeah.
Brother-in-law school.
School. Yeah.
We got to change the margins on these notes here, but yes. A little peek behind the curtain there. He actually did not start playing basketball competitively until 2016, and then apparently just threw himself into the game. That was
kind of like Okoro, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, Okoro was a senior.
Yeah, but Okoro was another guy. Like he was not born over here either. Like Okoro, like a lot of African players, is like, oh, I played soccer until the summer where I grew 7 inches.
Yeah,
and now I'm a basketball player. So he kind of had that bio. But anyway, he sounds like a really well-rounded person, well-rounded game. I've always kind of been drawn to this kind of player. I like smart players with other interests than
cerebral
basketball. Yeah, I mean, I was also coming away impressed with him from what I've seen so far, and like I said, I think last week, right? Like he's going to be that guy who's got like 12 and 7, or in his ambition maybe 12 and 10, and you're going to look down at the box score after the game and not have realized what he was necessarily doing out there. He's really quick and decisive and precise in all of his actions, and I like him. I like the way he plays.
Tell me if you've heard this before, Pete. News is going to drop the day we drop our episode.
It is. A10 Media Day is scheduled for today, as you're listening to this, Monday, October 7th. And we know that both the men's and women's programs are going to be represented there, and they're on their way to DC. They're probably there by now as we record on Sunday evening. And
must Zach, be nice.
The tough thing for me is, as I'm going to be in Richmond Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So it's going to either throw off our recording schedule next week, or we'll come up with alternate plans. We'll figure it out. So regardless, we're going to cover this event, but it may be an unusual episode or
I really appreciate that you actually put that in before we got to women's basketball, where we probably have the most drop off of listeners. So at least we got that information out.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of women's basketball, the A10 schedule was released on Wednesday the 2nd. Let's go through this, Pete. 12:29, the Billikens will open up A10 play in Rhode Island. Thursday, the 2nd of January, they will be at home against UMass. Sunday, 3 days later, they'll play Davidson at home. Then they'll head to Bonaventure Wednesday, 1/8. The 15th of January, they will play at home versus George Washington. This really feels disjointed travel-wise. Like, I'm expecting like 2 games to be played away, 2 games. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just stupid. But, yeah, Loyola, the 18th of January on a Saturday. They've got Dayton on a Wednesday. That's the 22nd of January. 26th, they'll head to Davidson. That's a Sunday. And then they'll round out January against George Mason at home. Pete, run us through February because my mouth's dry.
February 1st, which is a Sunday, they'll have a home game against Fordham. Then they'll head up to Philadelphia to play St. Joe's on Wednesday, and then come back home to play LaSalle on Saturday the 8th. Then, Zach, they finally do have one kind of road stretch, but it's a pretty big gap in between the games. They've got Thursday the 13th at VCU, and then Sunday the 16th at Richmond. Well, I guess that's not too big.
Yeah, that's not too bad. But it is weird if it's in the same city.
Yeah. So I guess that's not too big a gaps. But anyway, so at least that's one where they get 2 in one trip. Wednesday the 19th, they will come home and play Dayton. Saturday, February 22nd at Duquesne. Wednesday the 26th, they'll have Rhode Island at home, and then they will finish up the regular season Saturday the 1st at Loyola, which means Rhode Island, Loyola, Dayton, and Davidson are the teams that they play twice. None of those teams really had great records last season, but I think a lot of them have expectations of making a jump this season, especially Rhody and Dayton. Rhode Island, Zach, I'm kind of wondering, like Tammy Rice. How do I say her last name?
Tammy Reese, I think.
Unless
I'm thinking about Tommy Reese.
She feels like the coach who's kind of the face of the A10 women's, basketball, right? Like it feels like she's the coach that everybody thinks is the up and comer, the big hit coach. I know she was a big deal player back in the day, but I'm kind of wondering if her seat starts to get a little warm this season, or at least if people start asking questions like, is she actually the second coming? Because Rhode Island's been a little disappointing.
Yeah, it has. And I think you look on the other side with Tamika Williams-Jeter at Dayton, and she has, her first year was a complete bomb.
Yeah.
Or was it her first 2 years? It'd be 2 years because Tamika and Tillett were the same.
Yeah.
And they've gone 12-19 last year, and then the year before that, they went 7-21. Yeah. Is that enough of a jump when you went 5-10 in conference to 5-13?
She needs a winning record this season for sure. Yeah. So
how do you go 5-10 and then 5-13 in conference? Oh, they didn't make it as far in the A10 championship.
So the teams that we really that we play a lot have kind of some interesting storylines about like where their programs are at. So it's going to be interesting because they're really going to be, hungry or at least desperate. I think the 2 toughest road trips, Rhode Island and at St. Bonaventure are those are the 2 first road games. And I guess the good news here is they do get a full week off after Bonaventure in case there's any like kind of travel disasters. And I know every program has their stories about those. It also helps that St. Bonaventure absolutely stinks. They were 1-17 in the league last season. In fact, SLU only faces 2 top half A10 teams in the first 10 games and 1 in the first 8. They play 7 teams in a row that had losing records in conference last season. So they absolutely need to roll in January, Zach, because between Rhode Island and I think it's that George Mason game on the 29th, those are all losing teams last season, like lower half A10 teams. So the potential for a big win streak is there, but the potential for like kind of a disaster is also there too, because You want to beat any of those teams.
And we've seen the program under Tillett really struggle early in conference season.
That's right.
So
Yes.
it's going to be different. It's got to be different this year.
Yeah. So it sets up.
It's almost the complete opposite of what we've
really
been given
is.
the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's really right. And based on last year's standings, the toughest stretch of the season is St. Joe's, LaSalle, VCU, Richmond in February, because Richmond won the league last year. St. Joe's was second and VCU third. So LaSalle's not a great team. They're in the middle of that. But that 4-game stretch, you're playing the 3 top teams last year. So that's kind of, you come out of January and then have to deal with that. That's really tricky. So it's an interesting schedule. It sets up for them to be much better in conference if they can rise to the occasion. But if that thing happens again where they get off to a slow start, I mean, it also sets up to be a potential disaster if they're not as good as we think they should be.
One thing I didn't think we'd be talking about or continuing to be talking about is a Billiken women's basketball alum in the pros. And we're doing just that because Brooke Flowers has moved on from the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles to the Essex Rebels of the British Women's Super League. By the way, I find it funny that like the British are using rebels, which is essentially what, the United States, the 13 colonies were.
I would be curious to know what the context of the name choice is there, and what it means to them. I truly don't know, but yeah, the Essex Rebels. When she was down in Australia's NBL, won the women's league there, she averaged about 9.5 points and 8.5 rebounds a game, 55% shooting from the field, and we know she's a good shot blocker. Essex called her an elite defensive specialist and talked about her shot blocking prowess in the write-up about her joining the team, but really just played up her interior presence at both ends of the court. So hopefully she winds up being a big deal player over there. And this is great, Zach. It's really cool to see her traveling the world playing basketball still. And I got to imagine this is a pretty interesting experience. And someday when she's back in St. Louis, we're going to have her on and hear what this is like.
Absolutely. I wonder how you could potentially watch them. I don't know if you can. It may be on YouTube. I would check YouTube because I know that the British Basketball League was on YouTube for a while. Because when Hassan was playing, you were able to watch them. They also have a volleyball team, by the way. I love European, like they have just clubs. Right. They're just athletic clubs that have become like, it's like if the Missouri Athletic Club decided to field a pro basketball team. Yeah. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, it really is.
You know what else is beautiful? That beautiful red color on 2 Men in a Garden salsa and that very beautiful green color with those 2 Men in a Garden pickles.
It sure is, Zach. And you know what else is beautiful is I wanted to talk about one of their partner products this week at 2 Men in a Garden. Their Kitchen Hub products. The Fallout is their sugar-free green chili spice blend. It's really good. It's versatile. I like it a lot. And it's one of those that like I'll forget about it for a couple weeks at a time, then it's up in my pantry. And then I'll bring it out and throw it on eggs or rice or chicken or whatever. And it really has a nice pop to it. It's got kind of a little bit of a tang, a little bit of saltiness. So it's got a little bit of a pepper thing going on too. I like it. It's really good. It's a good one if you're building a box and you've got, room for one more. Throw this in there, and I think you'll probably like the versatility of this. It goes on just about anything. Sugar-free, gluten-free, cholesterol-free, low sodium, vegan friendly. It's all of the above. It's good stuff. Check it out. Again, it's called the Fallout Green Chili Spice Blend, and you can pick it up at our friends 2meninagarden.com.
You know what? As you're talking about it, I'm literally going and searching for it because it sounds like something I absolutely need.
Yeah, it's good.
Let's talk. You know what I need to? I need to talk women's soccer. Actually, you know what? It has been quite a few weeks since we've had a chance to gush over both men's and women's soccer teams, and I think for the most part, I think we can do that this week.
I think we can, Zach, but I do think it was a little bit of a bittersweet week.
It was.
We have to cover both of these games, and I know at least one of these results is not what they.
I don't want to cover that first one, to be honest with you, because I watched it.
Well, let's do it. First off, they're not in the polls this week. They're the first team outside the top 25 in the coaches poll. Last week they were number 20. We'll have an update in the next couple of days on that. Top Drawer Soccer, they're not ranked. Last week they were 21, so they are probably in that 25 to 30 range there as well. But in the RPI, they're at 52, and that's games played through the third. So we'll see what that is and how that evolves over the next week or two. But Zach, I think we got to go over this this first one, and it was a 1-1 tie against St. Joe's on Thursday the 3rd. And here we go, another game, another A10 opponent celebrating the tie like they just won the league.
It's one of those games where you talked about how the Billikens were first team outside of both poll, or the United Soccer Coaches poll at least, and maybe just outside Top Drawer Soccer. I don't know. But again, it's a game where you want a response to the disrespect from the media, from the coaches. You want them to come out and just absolutely dominate a bad St. Joe's team. And they did that, except for the most important part of soccer, scoring the goal.
Yeah. The box score here is insane. Look, early in the game, Katie Houck put a shot off the crossbar, and then in the 16th minute, Emily Gaebe has that back heel that kind of deflects off a St. Joe defender and kind of pops up in the air past the keeper. There were two defenders on the goal post, or on the goal line right by the post, and they couldn't keep it out. One of them even kind of swung her arm at it, but it had gotten over the line by then and didn't really matter. But Zach, a minute and a half later, Sarah Fisher from St. Joe's tries a long ball with Piricelli off her line, and Piricelli got a hand on it, but not like a fist, not a hard hand. Her hand kind of was a little limp. The ball didn't pop off hard enough and got behind her and went across the line. However, neither ref called it at the time. The sideline.
It was bizarre. By the way, George Major. Yeah. Thank God he was not reffing the men's game on Saturday night. That is.
So they didn't call it at the time. And, obviously you've got St. Joe's screaming. You've got some controversy about it. They waited until the next ball. I think it went out of bounds like a few seconds later. And then the officials talk for a second and then decide it's a goal. And of course, at that point, then SLU's bench is losing their minds, and you didn't call it a goal. You can't call it a goal now. But back to the box score, Zach. So that's all the scoring for the game. Spoiler alert. We already told you, we know that now, but this is insane. SLU outshoots St. Joe's 27-2. Shots on goal 10-2. Corners 16-0. Fouls 11-8. St. Joe's had more. And then offsides. SLU was offside 6 times. St. Joe's twice. I just don't understand how you outshoot a team 27-2 and walk away with a 1-1 win. It's wild.
I really don't have an answer. I just know that this game comes down to, poor goalkeeping and poor finishing, and everything in between was fine. Yeah. I don't know. This game is just it's a clinic in inefficiency, Pete. There's no way this should be a 1-1 tie. Like, just based on the odds of how big the goal is and how small the soccer ball is, at some point.
Yeah. If you throw it at the same big target 27 times, it's got to get through more than once. But credit to St. Joe's keeper, Katie Capoletti. She was the MVP of the game. I didn't love all of the time wasting down the stretch, but she didn't make mistakes, right? She didn't let SLU get away with anything. At the same time, I don't think SLU challenged her as much as they needed to. She seemed very ready for every attempt that they took. It seemed like they were kind of forcing SLU again, like we talked about in their previous tie, kind of forcing them into shots a little bit farther out than they would have liked to take, some tough angles, contested
Forcing them out
shots,
wide,
forcing them out
crossing,
wide.
not
Yep.
able to cut inside.
How many
Some
times
some really sharp angle, really just ugly shooting locations.
how many times did they cross it and she just pulled it out of the air?
Just
They're
nothing
just
was
sending in these
dangerous.
crosses right to her. So the numbers are a little misleading because you're right. Nothing was dangerous, and it just made for a really frustrating and, like you said, inefficient game. It was just it was hard to watch. I know my emotions watching this game more so than any other result this season, and this was their 5th tie. I was just like fed up watching this game.
It was brutal.
Yeah. Shields had some interesting remarks after the game. She said, "It's about putting together a complete 90 still. I was happy with how we started, getting a set piece goal, and they get one legitimate look and we pay for it. But we're getting everyone's best shot. We adapted better than we did a week ago, but not good enough to earn a result. If we don't concede, it's a different game because they come after us. We're getting a tough habit of giving up a goal, and teams just get to put numbers in and pile in behind the ball. Unfortunately, we've given people a playbook of how to draw us." So Zach, you hear that quote, and it's almost like she's saying the quiet part out loud, right?
Yeah.
Like, teams now know how to beat us, right? Like, you just need to get one through and then rush back and play for the tie.
Yeah, I think that's something that this team's going to learn how to adapt without, kind of that master tactician that was Chris Allen, the guy that would draw up, the set pieces, that would kind of manufacture goals for the team. And so that's really what they're dealing with now. And missing Caroline Kelly, that second elite striker, because after a while, if you're not the go-to, you kind of want to move on if you realize you're not going to keep being the target.
I love Hannah Sawyer.
Yeah.
I think she's a blast to watch. She's just gonna, in a game like this, rip shots from 30 yards out and send them all different directions. I really love Larson and what she brings and what she does and her speed up the sides. But Kelly was that finisher, just the finisher, and Gaebe is that finisher too. And to have one instead of two, it does make you kind of easier to scout in that way. It's just like I said, it's not that we don't have the talent, it's not that we don't have the ability. It's just somebody who just has that finisher's mentality. And to have two of them last year made you really, really difficult to scout and to stop. And I think, all credit to Chris Allen, but just in the day-to-day personnel that you have out there, Kelly right now feels like the bigger loss to me, because I think that other finisher is the difference between a win and all of these ties that we're seeing them stack up. And this has historically not been a team that draws a lot of games.
No, it's not. And they certainly, they turned around the next for the Sunday game against Duquesne. Obviously, I think the competition probably pretty similar. I don't think Duquesne's much worse than St. Joe's, but they turn around and they whip up on Duquesne 5-0, including a couple of records. Sunday the 6th, it started in the 6th minute with an Emily Gaebe collecting a long ball, bouncing throw in on the left side, and just absolutely torched 4 Duquesne defenders, finished on the far side of the net to beat the keeper. This was a clinical, classic Emily Gaebe goal.
It was unbelievable. I mean, she gets that long bouncing throw in and proceeds to just carve up the entire defense. It's like watching her sometimes. It's like Kill Bill or something, where you see one person just take out every person in the room. And she's just swinging her a samurai sword around and just beating everybody. It's unbelievable. You're like, one of these defenders is going to have the right read on this ball, is going to have the right position, and it doesn't matter because she just does so many things to get away from him. And yeah, to take what looked like a fairly routine throw in on the sideline, and then 10 seconds later she's celebrating a goal. It's funny, Zach, too, the way she finished. I actually thought she kind of had the easier goal on that near post, and she shot it far post, but whatever. I didn't think
Hey,
this.
dude, we just sat through 90 minutes of the
Of
worst
that.
finishing I've
Yeah.
ever seen
Yeah,
from
it was
elite soccer players.
it was definitely a choice, but I think over time, I will say I was not impressed at all with Duquesne's keeper. And by the way,
Which they did get into. Like, they talked about how good she was in the outside. By the way, these announcers,
yeah,
oh my God.
not great, not great.
Like, they started off nice. They started off nice.
Yeah.
It was so bad. They called her Gabe.
Gabe the entire game, and as we'll get into,
I can't believe you made it the whole game listening to them.
her. Well, I wasn't there to watch it live. I watched the replay, and I mostly just watched around the goals.
Yes.
So I didn't necessarily need the rest of it. But just to circle back on one thing you said in terms of the level of competition. So we had St. Joe's, Duquesne, Loyola. Those are the last three teams we've played, and Loyola and St. Joe's were ties. St. Joe's is 207 in the RPI. Loyola is actually all the way up at 62, and Duquesne's 80. So in theory, St. Joe's should have been the blowout, and Duquesne would have been more likely the tie. So it's kind of, these are really odd results, just based on kind of what those teams have done so far. But anyway, back to Gabe.
Soccer's a dumb sport.
Soccer is a cruel, ruthless sport. Back to Gabe and her big day. She got her second goal in the 9th minute, Zach. The play started with the defense. It looked like Heckel had the first touch, and was it Stram who sent the long ball up the field? It kind of just skipped through the midfield, completely untouched, got to Elise Lay, who fed Gaebe streaking right down the middle, and she waited for just the perfect moment to pinpoint.
We're going streaking.
Goal number 2 home. The ball, I will say, this was bouncy turf. The ball really was skipping around, and sometimes that's tough to play on, but it seemed to play to their advantage in this game.
Yeah, the turf is brutal. It just every ball just rolls and rolls and rolls.
Mm-hmm. In this game for sure. Yeah, and they were playing on they share it with the football field.
Yeah,
too, right? Yeah, so you've got.
I love the other side of the field though. I love that setup with like anybody can just walk up to the game.
Yeah,
that's kind of neat as you're walking through campus. 14th minute. It has been a long time since I've seen a dumbass play like this.
Yeah, this is another reason why I thought their keeper was maybe
it was I've done this in Sunday League. I've never seen it in a college soccer game. 14th minute, Duquesne's goalie on a ball that's sent up high in the air into her 6-yard area. She just straight up pushes Gaebe in the back.
Was it Gaebe?
Yes.
That's who. Oh, okay.
He just two-hand shoves Emily Gaebe.
I
wonder if Gaebe said anything to her. I wonder if she said something to her, like after one of the goals, or maybe Gaebe did just beat her twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and in different ways, and yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I mean, even the announcers were beside themselves at how thoughtless and how careless that play was. It was it was terrible.
The announcers did not leave room for any ambiguity in the call.
No.
It was just a straight up yellow card in the box, two-handed shove.
Everybody and their mom could see it.
Yeah, and you really didn't. If you're the player getting shoved like that, you don't need to embellish at all, because she pushed her hard. I mean, that was like a legit two-handed, just right to the ground. I don't get it.
I don't know I don't know how she thought she was going to get away with that.
Oh, it was so obvious.
Oh God, and nobody was around either.
No.
Like, even if it was like a scrum in the box, like, then you might be able to know.
No one's setting a screen between you and the ref on that one.
Yeah, the keeper wasn't saving the PK either. Lindsay Heckel buried it coolly. 53rd minute. By the way, with that second goal in the 9th minute, I believe Gaebe set the record for most goals in a career by a Billiken. And then with her hat trick goal in the 53rd minute, she set the record for most points in a career as a Billiken. Julia Simon sent another long ball to Gaebe. She only had to beat one defender who got stuck on Gaebe Island before scoring her third of the game for the first hat trick of her career. And I'm telling you, this is some Mandela effect bullshit. I do not believe it for a second. Emily Gaebe has scored a hat trick before in her career. I know she has.
Yeah, I mean this is like the Sinbad genie movie or
Yes.
Spelling of the Berenstain Bears.
Yes.
It felt crazy,
Or Nelson
right?
Mandela being alive or dead.
It felt crazy that this was the first hat trick in her career. It just didn't feel. I'd like we've had games where we've seen them score 7 or 8 in a game, 6 in a conference game. Like one of those had to be a hat trick, but no, I guess not. She's had some two goal games, but not 3. 10th hat trick in program history, which also seemed a little low to me.
That does seem low.
But she became the program's all-time goals and points leader in this game, like you said. 43 goals now, which passed Jamie Perry's 41. So she tied and broke the record in this game and then added one. Her 107 points topped the 105 previously held by Hannah Frederick. So pretty recent record there. And she's just going to add to it for the rest of the season. 86-minute Zach, Riley Howard sent a cross that the Duquesne keeper got a hand on and couldn't corral. Once again, you gotta get that keeper. I don't know what you're doing there. And Jordan Gary was right there, so she just put in the rebound to make it 5-0. SLU outshot Duquesne 18-7 in this one. Shots on goal were 8-2. Duquesne did have 4 corners to SLU's 3, and they had 2 more fouls than SLU did. I did happen to catch, even though I was skipping through this game a little bit, Emily Percelli did have to make one pretty tough save, Zach. It was similar to the previous game where she was off her line and had to come back and like hit it over the net. And she actually did that on this one, but I think it was a little closer than SLU fans would have liked to seen. And that was still in the first half. I think we had 2 at the time where she did that. So they did have at least one good chance, even though they only had 2 shots on goal. But overall, this is exactly the response they needed after 2 really frustrating, disappointing ties.
By the way, Perry, as of 2021, still holds the record of the school single game record of 11 shots in a game.
11 shots.
Yeah, talk about your one-track mind.
Wow, yeah.
Just only thinking about goals.
Yeah. She was a really good player. She was there at the same time as me. I think she may have been in the same class as me, but
I kept trying to remember who she ended up marrying. She married a soccer player, I think.
Andy Pusateri.
That's what I thought. Yeah. I didn't want to get that wrong if I didn't have it for sure.
Yep.
Next up, they will take on VCU, who is sitting at a really tough 2-6-4, 1-0-4 overall in conference. They have draws against Loyola, Bonaventure. They have drawn their last 4 games. A 0-0 draw against Mason, a 1-1 draw against St. Joe's, a 1-1 draw against Bonaventure, and a 0 draw against Loyola. They only dropped a 1-goal decision to number 4 Virginia. So again, they've got the defense. Whether the Billikens can solve that defense is another story.
Mm-hmm.
But we will find out on October 13th, Sunday at 2 p.m. That means the Billikens only have 1 game this week, which is a damn shame.
Yeah, it really is. We got to wait all the way until Sunday, a full week from when we are recording this. That is a shame.
The Billiken men's soccer team had a fantastic week. They played like a top 10 team against Charlotte, number 9 Charlotte, on Tuesday the 1st to a 0-0 tie. Billikens were the only team to put a goal in the net in this one. In the third, or not a goal in the net, a ball in the net. In the 3rd minute, Matthew Roble had his goal called off for a foul, absolutely justified. He had another good opportunity in the second half, but Charlotte's keeper was there for his attempt. The shots were the Billikens 9, Charlotte 2. Shots on goal were 2-0 Billikens. Corners favored the Billikens 7-3. The fouls were Charlotte 14, Billikens 11. Bookings were 2 for Charlotte, 1 for the Billikens. Those were all 3 yellow cards. The Billikens going to Max Floriani. Charlotte wasn't able to get anything going offensively. It just felt like SLU swallowed up anything they tried to put into the offensive half, Pete.
I didn't feel like they threatened like one time. Yeah, they had 2 shots, nothing on goal, which is shocking for a top 10 team to not be able to generate a goal. But like watching this game, it was just you don't want to say like SLU completely outclassed them, because it's not like SLU was having like an easy time either. But Charlotte just at no point in this game felt like an offensive threat at all. It was a very weird game to watch that way. I didn't, not being like a tactical genius when it comes to the game, I don't know everything SLU did to shut them down, but they just were not able to get anywhere. It felt like we had better, faster athletes. And speaking of one of them, Zach, or 2 of them, you said it in a text last week, but Gershon Henry, who was last week's A10 Rookie of the Week, and then Nate Ward have been a real shot in the arm for this SLU team. Ever since they've really become key pieces of the rotation. I love what they're bringing. It's a lot of energy. It's been a real spark for SLU.
By the way, Nate Ward left a career to come back to college. He's one of us.
Yeah,
he is everybody. He's living everybody's dream to like graduate and then be like, hey, I can go back for another year.
Yeah,
it's the COVID bonus year without the COVID.
It really is.
It's beautiful. Yeah. And he's played great. I mean, he's no slouch. It's not like he came out of nowhere. He played at Indiana. But still, I mean, to think you're going to be out of the game and then switch back on out of weekend warrior mode, guy who probably plays competitive indoor.
Yeah.
I mean, again, him and Henry have just been outstanding. I think we're semi-initiated. I don't think we're uninitiated when it comes to soccer. But for those who are semi-initiated and less, like, I think what you see out of this Billiken team is just a lot more quickness, a lot more energy with the ball, sharpness. The passes are where they need to be. The connectivity is there. Everything just looks better. It is more attractive soccer.
Yeah, I agree completely. And the other thing I'll say about Ward, for the guy who's, who back in it all of a sudden unexpectedly, he looks like he's really having fun.
Yeah.
Like to watch, like when they score or just like the way he plays in general, that energy, there's a real spirit to how he's playing out there. He's not like the smoothest player or anything like that. He's got he's tall. He's got a little bit of gangliness to him. But he looks like he's actually having a really good time out there. And I love the kind of positive energy that he's bringing to the game. Luis Lara, still the most dangerous player up top, and he's a blast too. But watching those 2 interact together as well has been really fun.
I think you hit the nail on the head with the kind of the joy and the pleasure he's taking in playing the game. I think when you are a team like SLU with a history that SLU has, there's a level of expectations and a level of seriousness that kind of can bleed into taking yourself a little too seriously, maybe shouldering pressure that you don't need to shoulder, and getting back to kind of playing with that, playing a child's game again can really kind of find new for a team that's struggling to kind of put it together.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think that was really missing from last year's team, which underperformed, right? Like they had kind of high expectations, I think unjustifiably high expectations coming into the year. They were overrated, overranked coming into the season. And when they didn't live up to that billing, it just didn't seem like they were having fun at all. Like that looked like a very frustrated team. And we've seen that this season as well at times, but I think they are kind of finding their stride a little bit and having a little more fun with it.
Let's see. They beat Duquesne on Saturday the 5th. A 3-0 win. Gershon Henry in the 26th minute, Pete.
Yeah, he sent in an in-swinging corner to the far post, and Luis Lara was there to head it in for
It
his
was
fifth goal.
beautiful pass.
Yeah, it was a just perfectly placed ball. Like there wasn't a lot of that I could see, a lot of kind of sophistication to the set piece itself. It was just cram everybody in front of the net. Both teams did, and Lara just was the right head in the right
Just sneaks.
place.
He just kind of
Mhm.
snuck off the back of the pack and had that back post the ball just right on his head into the back of the net.
That he did, and it was 1-0 heading into halftime. And then 5 minutes into the second half, Brogan Townsend split the defense on a great feed up to Seth Anderson, who crossed it into Jackson Delkus, and he headed it in for his first goal as a Billiken.
This was a beautiful pass too. Just a
lasers in a row, like just perfectly placed balls.
well placed. And that's what I think this team was missing. That final ball that reaches the goal scorer.
Yeah.
It looked at the 61st minute, it looked like Duquesne was going to clear the ball out, but three SLU players swarmed the defender and willed another scoring opportunity, with Seth Anderson ending up with the ball, dishing it back to the aforementioned Nate Ward for the goal, his first of the season. Was that really his first? Oh, he had an assist last game, he had an assist. The last time he dented the score sheet. It was his first goal of the season. 3 goals was a season high for SLU. The shots were 20-1. The shots on goal were 8-1. Corners were 8-3. Fouls were 17-14. The Billikens outclassed the Dukes in every facet of the game, except from that one shot. Duquesne literally had 0 chances on that.
Nothing, just nothing. And you're almost disappointed they got the one, because it would have been fun to just like completely blank them. But Zach, when you outshoot a team 20-1, I mean, like 3, circling back to that point, season high in goals, that's not great. You want to have, in college soccer, there's going to be some disparities that pop up on your schedule. And yeah, this is a hard schedule. I'll grant them that, but you would like to think this was more than 3 goals, or am I being a little too hard in that one?
Right now you're looking at one real attacking threat game in and game out.
Sure.
And that's Luis Lara. I mean, you don't have that multi-pronged attack. So I get why the goals have not been there, but again, you've got to find another scoring threat, and I hope that's Nate Ward.
Yeah.
I hope that's the guy, and I think it might be. He's really shown the ability to not only put the ball in the net, but also put the ball on the right person's foot to put it in the net.
He's been really kind of a disruptor in terms of what he's bringing offensively, and I think his chemistry, we mentioned it with Lara, but I think with Anderson too, has really grown every game. And then Henry, his left foot, when he's got the corner coming in from the right corner, sending it in swinging with his left foot, he's really, really precise with that ball. So I think that's another dangerous element as well. We did have, I want to say, a corner in this game that was called off. So there could have been a 4th goal in this one. So anyway, like just things seem to be clicking a little bit. Like one of the next question I had posed was, should we be worried that 3 goals is a season high? I don't love it, but I think we're kind of trending the right direction here.
Yeah, I do too. I think this team is kind of they've found a formula that works. They found a formula with team chemistry, ball movement, defense. They've got a fantastic goalkeeper. I don't think the Billikens. I think the Billikens are in any game they play. They just have to find that scoring touch, and they'll have a couple more opportunities this week when they head to the Bronx on Wednesday the 9th to take on Fordham. Fordham is sitting at 4-3-3 overall, 1-1-1 in conference, with a loss to UMass 3-2, and then a win over number 23 VCU on October 5th. So they are coming off a high, and it'll be interesting to see what they bring to the table. And then they'll take on Rhode Island on Saturday the 12th. And Rhode Island, I mean, they put out teams that hang, and I'm stalling clearly to get the Rhode Island schedule up and tell you how they're doing. Yeah, they have a really good team this year. They're 7-1-3. 2-1 in conference, a loss at VCU, a win over Bonaventure, and they beat Loyola Chicago 1-0. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if they're that good. They've got kind of a weak schedule. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I think this. I mean, I think the Billikens. I mean, if Bonaventure took them to a 4-3 game, like they beat Bonaventure 4-3. Like Bonaventure's dog poop. Like they match their colors.
Yeah, they do.
Anyway, yeah, that's what's coming up for the men's soccer team. Pete, we've got some news on some former Billikens.
Yes, we do. The U.S. men's national team and new head coach Mauricio Pochettino announced the new training camp roster, and it features 2 Billikens, Tim Ream and Patrick Schulte, on the top roster. Josh Sargent, local kid, is also on the team for this international window. So there's a chance we could see all 3 of them in action in the CONCACAF Nations League game at City Park on November 18th. So that's going to be a hot ticket to see all the local guys. They start with a friendly against Panama in Texas on October 12th, and then they have another at Mexico on October 18th, before we see them in St. Louis in November. But Zach, to see a couple Billikens on the top roster heading into this international window, I mean, that's pretty exciting stuff.
It's like in FIFA on FIFA Ultimate Team where they have like the player, you connect them with like how their chemistry is.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get a Billiken center back and a Billiken goalkeeper, I mean, the chemistry is just high. So yeah. I love that for the national team, having 2 guys that have kind of that connection. And from everything I've been told, the men's national team, like the staff, love Patrick Schulte. Like they think he's tits.
And that job feels very open, by the way. Like that's always been historically a position of strength for the national team.
Yeah.
And it's been really shaky in the last, I don't know, call it 12 to 18 months, maybe a little longer. And it feels like very much an open question of who's going to rise to the occasion for that job. But the fact that they like him so much is great to hear. Like I know we had gone over his Olympic experience and it was a little bit up and down. But his body of work with Columbus has been great.
Yeah, I think he's also a very marketable player. He's a down to earth kid, kind of outgoing, good looking cat. Like I think there are some goalkeepers in that. I mean, goalkeepers are weird dudes, and Schulte is much more of a marketable guy than I think maybe a Matt Turner. Or any of the other options in goal. So I think it can come down to, I mean, even though he is, in my opinion, the best goalkeeping option in the United States right now, I think it does come down to like, who would you rather work with? Who would you rather spend time around?
Yeah.
When you got to go to these far-flung friendly matches in, Moldova or some shit.
They do have 4 keepers on the roster in this window, which I think underlines the fact that it's pretty open and they want to get a look at these guys. So that's going to be really interesting to play out. By the way, Tim Ream, happy birthday! Just celebrated this weekend his 37th birthday. So
did you notice he looks perfect in that like tie-dye US kit with his beard? He looks a little like he looks very American hippie-ish in that. Yeah.
Something about the red hair with the beard and the tie-dye look. There's something very natural.
Yeah, it's a very Bill Walton-esque.
That must be it. He's probably the originator of that.
Let's talk a little volleyball here, Pete. It's a tough week for the Bills. A 3-1 loss at Loyola Tuesday the 1st. 22-25, 25-19, 18-25, and then 16-25. Delaney Rice had 11 kills. Addie Lyon, 16 assists. Carly Rogers, 18 digs. Loyola out-hit SLU 235 to 189 and had 59 kills to SLU's 42. The Billikens had fewer errors, but also had fewer attempts in all 4 sets. Pete, talk about their win against Duquesne on Friday the 4th.
It was a 3-2 win. They lost the first one 18-25, but then 25-20, 25-17 took the next two. 18-25 descended into a fifth, which they won 15-12. Zach, you said Addie Bruce will get all the headlines from this one, but you thought Taya Kaladzik was a super effective player on the pin.
Yeah, I liked the way I just thought that every time she got the set, she was putting it away. And I think that's, when you call upon your third or fourth option, and I don't mean to disrespect her there, but you've got Delaney Rice, you've got Trinity Luckett, and you've got Addie Bruce that are kind of the three-headed monster at the net. When you have a fourth that can show up and get the kill when it's her turn and not make errors and not hit it into the block and not hit it in the net, I think it really does elevate your team. And I thought Taya Kaladzik was pretty much the key to this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Bruce did have 22 of
She was incredible.
55 kills. Yeah. Kayla Jansen had a career high 8 blocks. Carly Rogers led SLU with 19 digs. Addie Lyon, 27 assists. So really nice team effort here to get this win on the 4th. But unfortunately, Zach, the result flipped on Saturday the 5th.
Yeah, a 3-2 loss Saturday the 5th, 22-25, 25-21, 23-25, 25-16, 11-15. Pete, I really think it really feels like SLU and Beatty and the volleyball team need to key in on that first set. It really feels like they're struggling to kind of to be in the game right away. And again, it showed with 3 straight first set losses this week. Addie Bruce, though, led SLU in this one with 25 kills, had 10 digs for the double-double. Carly Rogers led SLU with 13 digs. Addie Lyon had a team-high 33 assists. Trinity Luckett, 7 blocks. However, the errors were SLU 30, Duquesne 17. The Dukes, again, like I talked about with Taya Kaladzik and get in match 1, the Dukes this time had a balanced attack. 5 players posted 8 kills or more. Next up, they'll take on one of the conference favorites at VCU Friday the 11th and 12th. Yeah, so Pete, you'll be missing them. That's unfortunate.
Just barely. Yeah, I'll be landing in Richmond about 5 hours after the Saturday match wraps up. So I'll just be missing them, unfortunately. It would have been fun if coincidentally a SLU team were at VCU or Richmond the weekend I'm there. But actually, I think women's soccer plays VCU in St. Louis. So yeah, missing all of them this time around.
Field hockey finally returned to the pitch after, taking that Sunday to collect themselves, get back to St. Louis, and try to regroup. And of course, how cruel the world is. They had to go and play a ranked team on the road Friday the 4th, and they dropped a 5-1 decision. The turnovers again have been a problem for this team. I really don't know. Like I talked about kind of dumping the ball, and I don't know if that really works as well as like regular hockey. So, but like, that's what I see. Like if you're turning the ball over in your own end, don't just let them take the ball way down at the other end. So, and if you can get a player on it, great. Yeah, they early in the game, they gave up a penalty corner, and it's kind of one of those things where the last time we were watching this team play, the penalty corner didn't actually happen. So they successfully defended their first penalty corner since the one that was interrupted in Philly. So that was really nice to see. UMass was given a penalty stroke. There were a lot of penalty strokes in this one. I think there were 4, which, as noted on the broadcast, is exceedingly high number of penalty strokes. But UMass actually missed their first penalty stroke attempt. Shallow went one way. The shooter went the other way, and the ball just went wide. Somebody on the broadcast, some rude ass, was wondering why SLU celebrated after the missed penalty. I don't know. I can't think of why you would celebrate a missed penalty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You're playing a ranked team on the road. And
yeah,
through a lot.
Yeah.
Like, take what you can get.
The shots were 48-8. Shots on goal were 29-4. Abby Shallow and Carrie O'Donnell split time and goal and combined for 24 saves. This is, like I said, this is a tough one for a return to action, Pete.
Yeah, it kind of feels a little unfair. You would have liked it to be a more balanced opponent coming out of what they are coming out of. But if you're looking for highlights here, Josefina Perez on a penalty stroke goal. That was her 8th goal of the season. So she's putting together a really nice year. And she was on the preseason first team all conference, and it looks like she might end up on that at the end of the season as well. So silver linings there. But yeah, again, man, if this is going to be the first game after that shooting, of course it had to be against a ranked opponent, right?
Yeah, I mean, just unlucky. Pete, they turned around on Sunday with a 1-0 loss at Stonehill. The game was played on the campus of the Northeastern University. Stonehill got the only goal in the second quarter. They outshot SLU 12-10, 7-5 with shots on goal. So tough weekend overall. Remember, field hockey plays Friday at 4 p.m. at the Blue. Be out there and support these ladies as they return home.
Yeah, for sure. Cross country, Zach, they've got a couple weeks off. Next up, they'll have the Bradley Pink Classic on October 18th in Peoria, Illinois. And then swimming and diving, we did get the results finally for the Butler duels on Sunday, September 29th in Indianapolis. The men went 3-0. The women went 3-1. The men beat Xavier, Evansville, and Bellarmine. Butler does not have a men's swimming team, actually. And Logan Townsend won the 100 and 200 free. He anchored the 400 free relay team that finished first. Grant Girl won on the 50 free, and Franklin Liu finished first in the 500 free. The women fell to Xavier but beat Butler, Bellarmine, and Evansville. They didn't have any first place victories, but a lot of top 5 finishes. And then swimming and diving hosted UMSL on Friday, October 4th. The men posted a 122-95 win, claimed 4 individual events and 2 relays. The women won 133-81. They won 7 events overall. So nice showing against a crosstown rival there. Next up, they'll have their other crosstown rival at WashU on Friday the 18th. And yes, former SLU head coach Jim Halliburton is still there as an assistant, Zach. So weird, but they'll see him. They'll see him in a couple weeks when they head out there.
That'll do it. Make sure again you like and subscribe. Comment if you're still here. Comment about the jerseys. Let us know what you think about them. But for now, that's going to do it. We will let you guys know on Twitter how we're going to approach this next week. Stay tuned for that. Go Bills.
Go Bills.